Time to bring in our State House insiders. Antoine Seawright, our Democratic strategist, Dave Wilson, our Republican strategist. Let's talk about what House lawmakers have done over at the State House. Now, they passed a bill that requires all local law enforcement agencies that operate jails to enter into an agreement with ICE. 20 South Carolina counties already do this, guys. The big holdup this week, the big debate over there was the cost of doing this and safety. Obviously, this goes to the Senate now. But Antoine, let me get your feedback on what you think about this.
Well, this is Republican government overreach at its best. These are the same people who like to say we want less government. We don't want the government telling us what to do. But now they're trying to tell another unfunded mandate by the state House government to local government officials. At the same period of time, we see federal issues with funding as it relates to ICE. When we saw 2 people executed on camera, the arrest of 5-year-olds, and I can go on and on and on about the ICE that has been viewed by America as unpopular and unnecessary and gotten away from its mission. So I don't think we want to see those things spill over in South Carolina. I don't think we have the same issues, quote unquote, as other places. The only border issues we have here in the Midlands is folks from Lexington County coming to Richland County, Richland County going to Lexington County. And then from a statewide perspective, our border issues include those who are moving to our state that's causing pressure on our state's infrastructure. So I don't think this is a good idea. I think it's all politics. And I think this is how messed up the Republican majority priorities are in the General Assembly.
ICE is probably one of the most polarizing issues that you could possibly bring up. And if there's something that needs to be done right now, I don't know that it necessarily needs to be this. To Antoine's point, you've got 20 counties that are willing to foot the bill. The question is, are they red counties or are they blue counties? And most likely in South Carolina, to get the ICE support, they're going to be red counties. And when you look at that, a lot of the times what ends up happening is those red counties tend to have folks within them who are saying, listen, cut my taxes, but keep these people in jail. And the local sheriffs, the local governments are saying, wait a minute, I can't do both. And that's a place of conflict that in the 9 weeks we have left in this legislative session, I don't know if you can get through that.
Moving to the Senate now, there is a bipartisan effort by Democrats and Republicans to raise lawmakers' pay. They're talking about doing this again, guys. Last year, you may recall, they did it. It was challenged. The Supreme Court threw it out. They're wanting to increase their pay to about $47,000 a year. Antoine?
Well, I certainly think that we need to make public service more attractive in our state. So I do think lawmakers deserve some sort of raise. At the same period of time, you're going to have everyday South Carolinians saying we have not raised the minimum wage in our state in a very long time. We can't keep up with the affordability crisis brought to you by the Republican Party of South Carolina and of America. And so I think there's going to have to be some balance in the conversation. I don't see this passing without, again, another lawsuit from those who brought the lawsuit before. But I do think we have to figure out a way to make public service more attractive for everyday people to be able to try and participate at the elected level.
Antoine, you and I have worked in the Senate. We've worked around the State House long enough. We know the number of hours. If you want to talk minimum wage, our legislators right now are making below minimum wage for the number of hours that actually have to be put in to the job because they make $10,500 a year to work for 3 days a week at the State House. So 54 days out of the year. But that doesn't mean that you're a legislator for only 54 days of the year. They have responsibilities back home. So what ended up happening last time was they tried to increase the amount of in-district money that they received because they received $10,500 and another about $10,000 on top of that. The reason I think it does not get challenged is because this would not go into effect until the next legislative session. They tried to do it this last time in the budget, and you can't raise your pay, as the Supreme Court made abundantly clear. They cannot raise their pay during their own legislative session. It would have to go into effect at the next session of the General Assembly, which is in January. So to be able to raise it to that much, you will get a different group of people, not the same people who have to own a business or lawyers or have somebody else working for them so that they can be down here and doing the work of the legislative process for so long.
Got about a minute left. Want to get your feedback on last night's Republican debate. Dave, not a lot of sparks last night.
Not a lot of sparks, but I think 2 major factors came into play here. One, Pam Evitt didn't show up. If you want to apply for a 4-year contract with the people of South Carolina, you ought to be up there doing the work that needs to be done. I think the surprise one on this was Josh Kimbrell, the senator from Spartanburg, who a lot of folks didn't necessarily have a name ID for, but he definitely showed up at the debate last night and really drove a lot of the discussions that you didn't see coming from some of the other candidates.
Well, I would just say what debate, because most people did not even know a debate happened. And certainly because there were no sparks or because there was no serious candidate on the stage, people will kind of move on to the next thing. I don't think people are paying attention just yet to our statewide candidates on both sides of the aisle. I think that will come with time as we get closer to the primaries. I also think that Republicans are going to have to answer for the chaos and the lack of progress that has happened in our state under their leadership for over 2 decades. I suspect we will have a Democratic debate at some point. Be curious to know what that looks like, who ends up on the stage, what the criteria may be. But I think this election in South Carolina this year will be very consequential, and South Carolinians and Americans are starting to realize the power of their voice because many of them have voters' remorse with what they did in the last presidential election of 2024.
Yeah, political yard side season getting underway. You're going to see those signs everywhere. Dave, Antoine, guys, as always, thank you so very much for your time. A quick break. We're going to be back with much more in just a moment.